Okay, it is 6:30 on the 28th of June. This is a special call meeting on Thursday the 28th. Do I have a call, making a motion to call a meeting to order?
I'll make a motion, please.
Second. All in favor? I vote. Okay. You have to do the application here.
Mr. Mayor, my bylaws tell me to be constant in season and out of season, but I would like to volley back to you to lead us in prayer, if you would, please.
Okay. Dear Lord, we thank you for this fine day. We thank you for the blessings you bestowed on all of us, the county, the city, this nation. We pray that you'll be with each and every one of our soldiers and sailors who are serving today and watch over and guide them. We pray that you'll be over this meeting, that you will turn around and help and guide and make sure that we make the right and correct decisions and the best guidance for the city. Amen. Ask it. Amen.
Amen.
I will rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have a motion to adopt the agenda as published. So moved. Have a second?
Second.
All in favor? 5-0. Okay. And you have the executive session there if you need to go to it for the purpose of considering a city position. Is that correct? Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Allen.
if I could please, as a part of my motion, put a history and a timeline as to what we have to work with. The first set of candidates that were brought to the council for consideration for city administrator were Cheryl Harrison Lee and Bruce Sutton. At which time we adjourned to executive to discuss these two. Ms. Cheryl Harrison Lee notified the city that she had been gainfully employed somewhere in Kansas and asked us to withdraw her name. So respectfully, we withdrew her name from consideration. At that same time, Mr. Bruce Sutton, and I will agree, was put on short notice and said that he was unable to interview, so we did not have him to interview the first recommendation from the mayor. Henceforth, the mayor brought to us a second round of candidates. Those two candidates were Edward Lowry and Bruce Sutton. We interviewed Mr. Lowry via Skype. And again, Bruce Sutton, though he made appointments with us and gave us numbers and said he was going to be available, did not answer his phone. Two different numbers that he had given to us at the city. We did take action on Mr. Sutton in that meeting, and we voted 5-0 to decline Mr. Bruce Sutton. At which time we made a statement that we enjoyed the interview with Mr. Lowry. His resume is strong. We asked to defer until today because we have GMA travels and we've had a little more time to conversate and just evaluate Mr. Lowry. I, for one, think he's an excellent candidate, but do the math and you do the actual amount of interviews and people that we've actually been able to speak to. This council's only been given one choice, and that's Edward Lowry. And I'm mentioning his name because I personally enjoyed meeting him. He was very sharp in his speech, a great presenter, good speaker. But I would like to ask in my motion that we do not take action on Mr. Lowry. We are not passing on him. We are not saying no. But I would like to ask that the mayor bring forth 2 additional candidates in order for us to have a better base of evaluation. I would like to ask council to draft a letter response from this council, if indeed this motion passes, to Mr. Lowry, telling him how much we appreciated his time, and he is still very seriously being considered by this council. But that he needs to understand he is the only person to whom we've had an opportunity to interview. I think it would be an injustice to the citizens and to the due process of the candidates if we didn't ask for a couple of more. So with that, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to ask that we take no action on Mr. Lowry pending additional candidates, and certainly he is high marks on my agenda, on my list of talent. But I think we just need to have a little more to review. So that's my motion, is to take no action on Mr. Lowry at this time.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Discussion? All in favor? Those opposed?
Mr. Mayor?
Let me, I want to make a statement there. Excuse me. And Bill, you're going to have to clarify, because I'm not sure now what to do, because I understand the charter says that I nominate and they confirm or not. If they don't, they either give me a thumbs up or down. So,
Mr. Mayor, we did the same action on Mr. Sutton when he failed to show on the first round of nominations. You brought him forward in the second round of nominations. So, if you do want to discount Mr. Lowry, if you thought he was substandard and unqualified, and not allow him to continue to be in consideration, then certainly will entertain your vote to disqualify him.
you're trying to put words in my mouth, and I think that's the way you want to skirt around to say yes or no. I did nominate Miss Harrison Lee, and she accepted about an hour before, and I'm glad for it. That shows the quality of the candidate I picked up with. Mr. Sutton, you in your own words said that you didn't have enough time to interview him, so I said, in all fairness, I want y'all to be able to interview him. So that's the reason why I renominated him with a second one, which was Mr. Lowry. Now, I believe Mr. Sutton sent a letter about 1,300 after 1 o'clock or something like that day, asking the council some questions that he said he wanted answered before he would be interviewed, and that's probably why I think he says in that letter, if he'd answered the questions, he would do that. And such, you guys chose not to do whatever he asked you to do in that letter. And I had Mr. Linkus send him a letter for us, because I think we owe it to all the candidates to turn around and tell them what their status is. And Bill provide copies of it to all of them there, saying basically, hey, you didn't answer your phone or whatever. And so and y'all interviewed Mr. Lowry. It's one of those, he's your choice there. You got a choice, in my opinion, you got a choice up or down. It's not going to keep going. All y'all are supposed to be doing is confirming. Then you're going to sit there and keep that pumping 4 or 5 at you, and you make your choice. That's whether we just turn around and got that confirmed. I nominate, and you confirm. So you can either, I go to council for the guidance on it. What's the guidance? Because I don't think I can turn around and nominate anybody else until I get a confirmation or denial.
Mr. Mayor, the way I would interpret this, obviously the ordinance in question does not specifically say what to do in this instance. However, it does not say that the council has a certain amount of time in which to consider the mayor's recommended candidates. In other words, it doesn't say the council has to act on them in a certain period of time. So I would interpret this ordinance to allow the action that the council has voted to take today. And the way I would interpret that is that the mayor then has to bring forth additional candidates within 15 days to include Mr. Lowry. So you could bring Mr. Lowry and several additional candidates to the council for consideration within 15 days.
Now you got me confused. So even more candidates?
I think that
I thought that.
the ordinance permits that.
Boy, Bill and y'all, or Jack and y'all was going to nominate two, then after that it's 1-1-1 until now you're saying it's 3-3.
Well, okay.
I got a list of them.
Sure, and I understand what you're saying. And I think that you would be within your rights to nominate one additional candidate if you'd like under the ordinance. However, I would consider this to be an action which triggers an additional 15-day period for you to recommend additional candidates.
And I think it's directly what to do. We'll talk more on the side maybe as our council, because I'm confused and I got to sit down and see it there because Mr. Mayor, if I want to turn around and not follow the charter. Mr. Allen.
Certainly sit down anytime you wish with council. We are on record in this meeting and we're on minutes. Council has just mentioned that this city council has moved in an appropriate fashion. So we want to make you aware that you are on the 15-day clock for additional candidates. Whether you decide to bring Mr. Lowry back or not, the action of this council is not to discount Mr. Lowry. If you choose not to bring Mr. Lowry forward in your proceedings forward from here, that's certainly your decision. But we are asking to have and hear from additional candidates for this opportunity in the city. So I just want to make sure you go on record that this council does want to put you on the 15-day clock for additional candidates, and your decision of candidates absolutely lies with you.
Oh, thank you. All right. You need an executive session, too? Anybody have anything else?
Mr. Mayor,
Thomas.
I'd just like for council to clarify one thing for me. Is it correct that the mayor nominates, the council appoints or approves, and it is the mayor's prerogative to allow council to interview? Is that correct?
The language used by the ordinance is, it says the mayor shall recommend to the council candidates. And it says in the event the council rejects the mayor's recommended candidates, it provides for procedure for the mayor to have an additional period of time to interview qualified candidates and make additional recommendations to the council. It says the council may accept or reject the mayor's additional recommended candidates. So I'm not sure about the nomination.
Is there a clause that states that the council interviews this nomination?
It doesn't say that the council has to interview. It doesn't say that the council cannot interview, but it does say that the mayor can interview.
Thank you.
And you raised that. That's the question. When you read that again, you're saying, I nominate, they either reject or accept. I don't have to see.
The way it reads is the mayor shall recommend to the council, and they may accept or reject the mayor's additional candidates. The initial candidates and the additional candidates.
So they've done neither.
They have done neither in this instance, however.
I need to wait for the decision from them.
They-
Then 15 days will take place.
Right, I mean, they've essentially tabled the matter for an additional 15 days. That's the effect of what they've done. And so I don't think it says that they have to do either one.
It says there, you just read it, it has to accept or reject.
Ultimately, but they don't have to do it at this meeting. In other words, the ordinance doesn't provide a time frame for them to do it. So eventually they're going to have to tell Mr. Lowry yes or no, but they don't have to do it at this meeting. Does that make sense?
Mr. Mayor.
Well, I would. So I could just, I'll just go ahead and read. I could renominate Mr. Sutton, Mr. Lowry, Mr. Sutton, Mr. Lowry, Mr. Sutton, because it doesn't say I have to.
And Mr. Sutton didn't turn down by council, Mr. Mayor.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't say that I can't renominate somebody who's been rejected.
Well, I think Mr. Lowry certainly can be brought back. I think that the ordinance may very well prohibit bringing Mr. Sutton back if he has been rejected, because it talks about mayor's additional recommended candidates. So I would interpret that to say that once a candidate has been rejected, he may not be brought back before the council.
Oh, well, no problem. All right, we got all these Boy Scouts piling up out here. Anybody else?
I just want to say that for the good faith of the citizens, when you're talking about whether we're in the interview process or not, I would think, being an elected official, the charter states that we're a body, we're a whole, all of us. So I would think that you would want us in the interview process along with you.
I have to follow the charter. It doesn't say that you nominate. I nominate, so.
We're not asking to nominate, we're talking about interviewing, it's two different things.
Okay, any other discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Allen?
just in support of what Mr. Bushman is saying there, and certainly to confirm what I believe Councilman Thomas is trying to say. Whether it's an interview, whether it's giving us a resume or some type of documentation for anyone to think that in our position we can take any nomination for any position without a resume or without an interview or without a phone call or without any opportunity, would be pretty ridiculous on our part. So I understand the technicalities of what you're doing, what we're talking about here, but certainly I think it would be a malfeasance on our part not to have some type of knowledge of whomever you decide.
And I 110% I support you on that, and that's the reason why the citizens would like to know where the resume is for some of the other staff members that y'all nominated. Still can't get a resume from them.
Well, Mr. Mayor, that you brought
How
that
dare
up,
you do that?
we may want to make Mr. Lincoln need to caution here if I'm incorrect. The mayor has just alluded again to a resume, okay? He has resumes of everybody. He's the one that's holding that resumes that he has possession of. The mayor is trying to tell us that we are in a position of not presenting resumes. This city council has not held back resumes. I'm going to go on record. It's the mayor that has had and does have resumes in his possession. Okay? So if you want to continue with this conversation, I'll be glad to entertain this.
Okay, which
During
resume?
this meeting.
No, I don't want to. We're not going to adjourn. I'm not adjourning this meeting. I'm going to ask you a question. What resumes are you talking about on withholding?
You, sir, are misrepresenting our community that you have never had David Millhine's resume.
Now, I'm going to have to just remind the
We are in a first meeting, that's why I thought we needed to confirm.
right, that we need to stay on the agenda. So,
Yeah, that's why I was saying there's, when you bring up the word resume, I was talking generics. I'm all for resumes being brought up for anybody should have a resume.
And then you're talking to us, well, we appointed
And
you.
we don't do them without resumes. It's the same.
Nor did we say we did.
I got resumes for everybody I'm nominating.
You've told the people from this camp, from this dais, that you have never seen, nor do you have any idea what that David Millhine's resume is. And I'll put you in the minutes.
I'm not going to go into the discussion of his at this special call session, but we'd be glad to address that at another forum.
Let's do it this coming session, I appreciate it.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
All right, Carol. No, we count on you. I second. Second.
And Mr. Mayor?
All in favor?
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Mayor, Ms.
Mr. Bushman.
Just real quick on the Open Records, Open Meetings Act, that we just went to in Savannah this past week. They were telling us that when,
Oh, excuse me, you're out of order. Once you have a motion and a second, we've got to carry through with that.
with the
Okay. motion and we have a second.
We should permit discussion about the motion.
But we want to get up, we got people here. I don't need to talk about GMA
Mr.
training.
Mayor, I'd like to call on the council for a vote to allow Ms. Bushman to speak, please. I make a motion to allow her to finish her conversation.
Now we got, Bill, you're gonna have to make a second. We've already, hold up, folks, y'all let them speak. Bill, we got a motion on the floor. We got a first, and we got a second.
Unless the motion is withdrawn, the discussion has to be about the motion. So if the motion is withdrawn, then there can be a discussion on additional items. But what we're talking about is whether or not to adjourn.
Bill,
Thanks. Good.
in
Proceed.
reference to the vote that was taught at GMA training where he records it, is what I need to tell him. So that it involves the actual voting procedure.
I mean, if your discussion is concerning the motion to adjourn, procedure or voting for a motion to adjourn, I think that would be permissible.
Yes. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I'm saying that she could be permitted to speak on that issue.
But it's only on no other motion.
On that one
We got a
motion.
motion second.
Motion to adjourn.
First and a second.
To adjourn.
And Mr. Cochran is first, Mr. Steinberg is second. There's a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to withdraw.
I'm going to withdraw. Okay. Mr. Cochran's withdrawing his. Okay. Now, what do y'all want to talk about? Folks, I'm sorry. You made a motion to withdraw. Do we have a second? We have a second to withdraw? I second. Okay. Now,
Need to vote on the motion to withdraw.
all in favor of withdrawing? 1, 2, 3, 4. Opposed? Okay. You got kids waiting.
Now, you can proceed further.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Bush?
I wanted to let you know that in the GMA conference that we just attended this past weekend, when you record your vote, you need to state the person that is actually doing the voting. In other words, instead of 4150, he needs to state the councilman and what their voting was. And that's what they were told us in open meetings, open records. In other words, Mr. Alfonso affirmed or yes, Ms. Bushman no, and it keeps any kind of problems down later on.
Bill,
Just-
is this not, thank you for your little training tip, but my understanding is, on it there, if you want a voice vote, then you would say, Mr. Cochran voted, Mr. Alcott, or whatever, saying 4-0. That's what Jack and y'all told me to start with. We went over saying 4-0 unanimous, or 5-0 unanimous, whatever. So give us your ruling.
Well, I have to split the data a little bit on this in that I think it's permissible legally to do it or 4-1 or whatever. I think what Ms. Bushman is saying is that for the purpose of records, keeping accurate records, that they recommended to do it that way by noting how each particular.
But you don't have to.
There's no legal requirement that you do it that way. That I.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Bush.
we've had problems and errors in our reporting because of this, so I just wanted to kind of let you know it might be beneficial, especially in the audio part of the minutes for the record.
Thank you. It's not a requirement. I'm still going to continue the way we've been.
Of course you will. Thank you very much.
And thank you for your training tip. It was good that you were paying attention to that. So now, can we get a motion to adjourn? Get more people outside and get it in here. We try it again. So, Mr. Thomas makes a motion. Do we have a second? A second. We have Mr. Steinberg makes a second. Do we have any discussion? You don't want to discuss this, Bushman? Okay, well, we get a vote. All in favor? Mr. Thomas is in favor. Mr. Steinberg is in favor. Mr. Alarcon is in favor. Mr. Cochran is in favor. And last but not least, Mr. Bush. With that being said, we're adjourned. You got 5 minutes. We can let them in. Oh, that's all.
set this behind it.
Yeah, no problem. Excuse me. What is an executive session tonight?
No, it's a special call meeting, not an executive session.
What are you?
Give y'all some room here. Hey there, how you doing?
Hello.
Austin thinking y'all cool because he's.
Coach.
What's your name?
Well, I wasn't.
Oh, my bad. Oh, at least I can spell.
Sit down and help.
Thanks. Beat you so bad. That's not good for it again. I'll beat him so bad.
Oh, why just talk to say hi?
All my shorts.
When they're all up there, can you take a still photo with them, of them and we can send it to them? We got the ball team here. Turn around and do.
Where you doing? 1, 2, 3. One of them 3 right there. What? No, you're not one. I'll tell you later. Oh, it is sort of orange. All day. The whites in it.
Okay, it is 7 o'clock on June the 28th. This is our working session. And at this time, we're going to get through. Appreciate everybody coming here. I need a motion to call the meeting to order. I call the meeting to order. Stenninger, got the motion, do I have a second? Mr. Thomas is a second. All in favor? And we have 5 unanimous. Call it to order. And the invocation, where's, she didn't make it. Or he didn't make it. Dan Edwards? Reverend Edwards? Oh. You want to come on up and give us the invocation, please? We recognize you with your glasses on.
Let's bow. Father God, we come now, Father, to thank you for this opportunity together here to conduct official city business. Father, we ask right now that your mercy and your grace will be upon us. Father, we ask right now that everything we say and do will be representative of you, Father, and after it's all said and done, that you will be satisfied. Father, we thank you for this council. Father, we ask that you will continue to bless them, Father, and give them strength and wisdom. Father, we thank you and we love you. Was in the matchless name of your Son, Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, that we pray. Let's all say amen.
Amen. Thank you. Y'all will rise and the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, do I have a motion to adopt the agenda as presented? Mr. Mayor. Mr. Alcott.
I submit to next, if I may, resolution review the livable city centers incentive, and also another one affirming the city treasurer's duties in regards to the new organizational chart.
Do I have a motion for the adopt? Or you want to put that on here first? No, so where? Do you want to put that on? Adopt the agenda, you can put the resolution for the LCI.
Beginning of resolution agreements and loans for the
Say we'll put that in number 3.
that'd be fine too.
And what is the other one?
The resolution outlining and affirming the treasurer's supervisory duties under the new organizational chart.
Treasury duties. That'd be a resolution or ordinance. It has to be an ordinance, Tom. I've seen it.
I don't know of any requirement that it be an ordinance.
See?
I don't know of any requirement that it be an ordinance.
Okay, we'll look at it. See if we have to change it. Okay. If there's changes there, do I have a motion to accept the agenda as proposed?
I so move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. Opposed? Mr. Thomas opposed. There's nobody here. This is what we, staff, did that, so.
Mr. Mayor, for that,
Mr. Alcott.
that was brought up late hour, and I made a motion. I'm not bringing that forward unless somebody wants to make that motion.
Sounds like we're on track. Okay. First up, we have to recognize, we're going to, and if all of y'all will come up just a second, I want to recognize the Stockbridge All-Star Baseball Team for winning the Division State Tournament. And if all you guys in uniform for families stay there for a second, y'all come up, I'll come down there. We've got some things in the coaches, and I'll let them tell you what they've done, but they're going to the World Series. But y'all come on up down here in front. Okay, folks, come on up here. They called me, and I think this is worthy of coming down and recognize. I'm going to let him tell you what all the accomplishments they've done, but we've got world-class kids right there.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank the council for recognizing these. These kids are two separate parks from North Henry Law Park and Hidden Valley Law Park. They come together in about 2 weeks. Practice time, we can get together and play the state tournament, all-star state tournament. They play hard all weekend. They earn what they got. Monday, we're leaving out to Manville, Louisiana, play the All-Star World Series.
This is 14.
Yeah, 14.
14 and 9. And we're very proud of y'all and what they asked us to do, and I think council has looked. We're going to give y'all, I guess it's tradition that y'all put trading teams down there. If the other team, you might want somebody's team from Texas or somewhere else. So if y'all requested 200, we've got 250 in that package there. If y'all spread them out and come back, and once y'all come back with the trophy, we'll probably have something even else money for you. All right. Did you get a picture of them there, Cameron?
I will.
Back some news reports or whatever. And they are, I think I'll give them a plug. They're needing money too, guys. Anybody wants to donate to help them with their expenses coming down here, because that's a big thing of coming down. There we go. We got this Tisha Reese, manager of Walmart. She's willing to help them out as well. Congratulations. And also, I'll tell you what, we got, go ahead and where's all the families? Those kids wouldn't be here about this, give the family members. Mom and Dad do all the driving, running through there late at night, getting them the sandwiches and stuff. Good luck to y'all.
Thank you.
Best
Thank
wishes.
you very much.
Look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Oh my God, back to you.
Somebody tweet. You tweet. Somebody tweet. Bill, you tweet.
Why are you smacking me?
Anyway, let us know what's going on.
Yeah, so I'll be there Tuesday.
This next presentation.
So I don't have to get a room for another day.
This is, we've had Veterans Day things, we've had Memorial Day, this is our third Memorial Day function we had this year, and I thought we wanted to take our time. A lot of times people look for the government to do things, and it's not the government for anything. I want the government less than I like them. I want them in it. And so what we turned around and did on Memorial Day, I went out there and I just went down and asked some of the big local businesses, would they donate and help us do the Memorial Day March? And they turned around and said they would. So this, I've done up, we have 11. We got 11 people we're going to recognize tonight. 6 other businesses couldn't be here tonight because I called them, and I want y'all to come up here and stay in the camera and get a picture of all of us up here together. First off, and the certificate will read the same one, was for Memorial Day March at Stark Bridge. With sincere appreciation, I'd like to recognize, and then the name of it there for this one here is Alan Mitchell Ford, for your partnership and participation in the 2012 Memorial March held on May 28, 2012. Our community is stronger because of companies like you. So at this time, too, I'm going to come up, and I can't remember John Weber's name, I think it's Chief, because he's retired on. Okay, thanks to all those people coming, and we want to recognize the baseball team and the people that support us, and the rest of y'all coming out too as well. We appreciate your time. This is your Governor Norris said we need your participation. With that being done, now we have in the old business. Under old business, we have no items. Under new business, we have Henry County Planning and Zoning, which is item 1 in the books, presented by the Henry County, because they are not here to present it. And I was briefed on this short-term work program update from 2012 to 2016 for the city of Stockbridge. This is a program that is due. It's really Sherry Matthews and Michael Harris are handling it. They came, sat down with the staff, went through it, and as y'all see, the copies that are in there, they made the different adjustments to it there. I would suggest y'all, since this is a working session, it's not anything you see on there. I think she did a very good job. This is one of those that it kind of jumped up and bit us there. We couldn't find anything from the former city administrator on the computers or hard drives and stuff. So she generated this, and so this is the copy that they have to work off of. And we provided it to her. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, there's in the back, Mr. Miller provided the impact statements, the fees and stuff that needed to go with it. Being how this was, it's almost a hand-jammed job to get this thing together, but I think if y'all take a look over, we got and they will Sherry and then we'll be here to present the copies and answer any questions that you have of it. But if you have any questions, shoot them an email. Just CC everybody so we know what we're saying on it there. Any questions on the STP? That's correct. STP program. We have no comments on that. We have resolutions, agreements, and ordinances under item number 1 is presented by David Miller and the Treasurer's an ordinance to amend the city's 2012 budget so as to transfer $90,219 from the general fund balance to the administration budget to reflect agreement between the city and Community Health Network for the delivery of health management program for the period July the 1st, 2012 to June 30th, 2013. Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a bit of housekeeping. During the 2011 year, the council anticipated actually creating a wellness program through the negotiated savings of the health program. There was actually money put aside in an account reserved for this. This was actually reflective of the money, the $90,219. When the 2012 budget was approved, however, there was not a line item created. So last month, you all authorized the mayor to enter an agreement with CHN in order to enter the health program. That was not an authorization to spend $90,219. In fact, you'll see in the staff recommendation there's actually quite considerably less amount. We do have our first invoice. Before we can pay the invoice, we actually have to have a budget authority to pay that. So this is to actually transfer the money into a line item. And as you know, we will go ahead, we estimate about $30,000 to $35,000 in year 1, meaning between now and the end of the year. We actually, that's conservative, it's actually about $30,000. And then obviously the balance will be in 2013. This is just simply generally accepted accounting principles in order to get the money to where you need it in order to spend it. Thank you.
Any questions? Okay, no questions on it. We'll move to item number 3, presented by David Miller, the Treasurer, resolution authorizing city approved payment of $10,416.67 per month to Freeman Mathis and Gary LLP.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Another bit of housekeeping. When you appointed the city attorney in January 9th, you had followed up with a subsequent resolution that actually authorized payment for the first 3 months of the year. So this is a bit of housekeeping to say that you're going to continue to pay the city attorney as the bills come in. As the mayor stated, this is a blanket amount of $10,416.67, regardless of how much you work your attorneys. And then there is, as you will see on the second page in section 1, there is additional fees which are plus, meaning anything that is not standard council representation to the city.
Any questions?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Allen.
I want to ask the council if this resolution is correct on this, or does this have to be an ordinance? anything that has to do with funds.
It's my understanding that unless there's an amendment to the budget, it does not have to be an ordinance, it could just be a resolution.
And I'll concur with council.
If that's the case, could we entertain the idea of putting this on the consent agenda? Because I'd like to have you here next month.
And one thing, Bill, we talked about it before the meeting, and I talked to Jack, and I think council probably want to go along with it. I asked him that, and when I talked to Mr. Miller, I'd be trying to answer the question. This here is just a blanket. We shouldn't be cutting blanket checks for $10,416.67 without some kind of explanation. Because he's my lawyer, and they do a lot of work. But like we did with the other law firm, we put in there, he spent 4.7 hours talking to Mr. Alcon about land acquisition. He talked with the mayor 3.6 hours about personnel or something. But if we have a breakdown to kind of give us feedback, what are we paying for, so we know, man, we get a good deal for $10,000, or I need to work you more. I think we're working enough. If y'all, I think in the billing, if you broke it down that way, and then the above and beyond is all the litigation, all the other, the extra stuff that comes with it would be a better way of doing it. And I think you guys have said you've already got it. It's just, when I see the bill come in, I'm not seeing it that way.
We have those records. I can talk to Jack Hancock and make sure it's done that way.
Yeah, that's what he said originally. Okay. With that, you want to make it a consent agenda?
If we can get a 5 vote, make a motion to put it on consent.
Yeah. Motion for a consent. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, we got one consent agenda. Okay, the next one will be yours, Mr. Alcon, with the LCI.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a resolution moving forward with the Livable Centers Incentive Study of June 1st, 2012, authorizing the mayor to execute all documents necessary to effectuate the purpose of this resolution, authorizing the city clerk to attest signatures and fix city of seal and all necessary serviceability, repealing inconsistent resolutions, provided effectuation date of this resolution for other purposes. Mr. Mayor, I'm giving a little bit of history. I think we're all aware. We had an update to our LCI, which is our Livable Centers Initiative. Next Monday, when we do actually vote on this, I don't plan on putting this on or even asking for a consent on this tonight. It's a very important motion that we're talking about entertaining, so I do want to give Caleb, I believe Roger, is the way you pronounce his name, but I want to give Caleb full opportunity. He plans on being here with us at our next voting council meeting. So I just wanted to bring this up and put it through the work session process. But he has indicated that we have met all legal obligations to bring this forward and vote on it this month.
What I'd like to add to it there, this is again another one of those that fell off the plate from the former administration. All documents are wiped out on the computer that we had, no hard copies left. And when we went into it, and we got with Caleb and them there and found out that this was on down the line. Caleb asked the other day that we look, I would encourage council, don't just take it, y'all read it. I've already been down through chapter 2. And I still have 2 more. This ain't the last one I printed. I found 6 errors in it already. And I'm only down to about page 19. It's a 130-page document. Just like the spelling of your different roads, different departments. So we need to take a close look. We kind of always left it up to someone else, but if you guys vote on it, that's going to be your document. That's going to reflect how you spell, how you turn around, and what I saw on this. So I think we need everybody to get all those together so we can give. I encourage you to get it to Caleb Rassett before then to turn out and see what his input was. Is there Mr. Whitley here? Mr. Whitley, I apologize, sent me an email, said he was going to meet me today, and he wanted to come discuss it. I told him he's more welcome to come discuss it because he's got a request about something he wants on. I'd ask everybody just to be patient with it, study it, and then maybe we can answer their questions on it there. Okay, and next, Mr. Allen, we have a motion for something about the treasurer.
Yes, sir, there's a resolution adopting, I'm sorry, what's wrong with it? There's a resolution affirming the duties of the city treasurer under the charter, affirming the supervisory duties of the treasurer under the new city organizational chart, authorizing the mayor to execute any documents necessary to accomplish the intent of this resolution, provided the effective date of the resolution and for purposes. Mr. Mayor, bringing this forward to try to gain clarity and substance to an organizational chart that this council took the initiative to adopt. We have put the treasurer and his monetary resources at a certain level, and we've given him certain duties as authorized to us as council, as him being our appointee. And this resolution is not doing nothing more than expounding on those. And I certainly, it's a resolution. It's very important that we, as a council, talk more about this. But I want to bring it forward to, number one, support the new organizational chart and the management side of what we're trying to accomplish with that new chart.
Has those got copies of it? I don't have a copy, Mr. Steinberg.
Exactly. That's why, I will get you copies. That's why I'm making a motion to move forward on this tonight. I just want to read it, put it in record as a working session. I will provide them to you, and we won't be voting on this tonight. We will be voting on this at the next voting session. But I wanted to enter into the procedures of our committee's work session, voting session. So that's why I wanted to bring it forward. We can certainly have to pass this up and down, but I just got this late, and we're more than happy to provide everyone before next voting session.
Did you just write this late, Mr. Bill? So I'll go on that building statement.
Pardon?
I'll go on. We keep getting this way. We're trying to stop with all these surprises that come out up here. So he just got it. Did you just deliver it to him late?
I delivered it to him late, yes.
I'm a reprimand you for that. Don't do that no more. Okay. We need to let the staff and let the council study it ahead of time. That's only proper, what they agree. But we need the information to study it.
It was my fault. It was my fault.
Okay, no problem. I just put everybody knows. Mr. Allen?
I certainly agree if we had brought this forward and at the voting session and expected this council to take action without having copies of time due diligence, then I certainly agree. This was brought to me late. It was one of those issues we do task him and his staff quite heavily. I just wanted to bring it forward to read, not to take action on it. So that's, like I said, I didn't want you to feel or anyone to feel that I brought this forward in a quick session. We have numerous days, in excess of a week, to study this document and to move forward on it at the voting session.
So did you bring that quick? Who got you said brought it forward? Did you brought it forward?
I asked Mr. Lincoln to draft this document. He brought it to me late this afternoon when he left your office. I'm just trying to be clear that I don't anticipate nor expect anyone on this council to vote on this because it's not a voting session. So I just wanted to come forward under the work session so we are aware of it and prepare for it so we can vote on it properly in a voting session.
I understand, and I'm trying to supervise the staff as I'm supposed to by the charter. And I'm trying to figure out where all this come from. Did this come from Mr. Milliron 2 or 3 days ago, or did it come from him? This thing just pops up here on the agenda just like it's 30 minutes.
Mr. Mayor, I will.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, because you rejected me, if I may.
Second, Mr. Alcantara.
Okay, I just wanted to mention, you're chastising me for bringing something forward at the last minute. If I may, I could read an email from our HR from you late this afternoon, actually at the same time I received this. So if it's, let's not get petty here. I'm not trying to take action on anything. Right here, it says,
I know, okay,
okay, well then that's the last minute amendment. You wanted this to come forward.
No. When I sat there, I did my staff, when I talked to you guys, and I knew you guys already got everything wired for sound, and you don't want to do that, you didn't hear me bring up anything. Don't sit there and say that, Mr. Alcantara. I don't do that.
I disagree with you, Miss. You asked in this email, if you'd like me to, you asked Ms. Dawn Johnson, bring this forward to council for tonight. Has that misinformation?
And she was bringing it forward, and when I guys aren't interested? You didn't think we'd bring it up, did you?
It was already given
You
to
didn't
us.
bring it up, did
You
you?
already had it brought forward. You already had it brought forward.
No. Ms. Johnson here to bring it up?
Let's move on.
Thank you, Mr. Todd.
Yep. Okay. With that one, let's get the next part there. Mr. George Hawkshurst, I do not see him here. So we're going to need a motion to scratch it. You're going to make a motion to scratch this. He was going to do a presentation. I think he's got to make a presentation, but he ain't here.
I'll make a motion to strike it.
Or remove it, I guess. Remove it so don't get chastised by that. Any Mr. Majors, remove it. All in favor of moving that, number 4? Good. Mr. Cochran, we got a second. Mr. Steinberg, all in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0. This needs unanimous. Okay, number 5. Chief, it is your turn. This is going to be a presentation by Chief Keith Nichols of the Henry County Police Department. Talked to him earlier, and he's got all the heavy hitters here with him. We also got, well, I'm going to let you do the introductions. Who all we got, Chief?
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Council. Introduction. I know several of you I just met tonight. I'm very proud and honored to be in front of you tonight because I appreciate what you do for the Henry County Police Department. I appreciate the support that we get from the City Council because it's imperative that we get that, and we've been trying in turn to make the city a safe place. Just giving you a brief history on me, I started my career in 1979 in the city of Riverdale. So I know what it's like to police in the city. And I know how relationships are in the city. Everybody's close and family members. And when I came here in 1991, this is where I started my career, in the city of Stockbridge. And I love policing in the city of Stockbridge because it was a small town, hometown feel, which is, like I said, I started in Riverdale. I grew up in Fairburn, for y'all that know the area pretty well. And it had that same feeling. And that's an awesome feeling. And when we got out and we patrolled, you know, that's one of the things they always said. I kind of thought it was silly then, to be honest with you, waving at everybody, waving. And we got out and we waved, but I understand that now. And that's the same thing that we're trying to do in the city of Stockbridge now. Our goals are primarily community policing and proactive patrols. I know that over the years I've seen a lot of changes in Stockbridge. And not all of them have been positive changes. So we're in charge of keeping the public safe. And we take that very seriously. We have to be cognizant of the civil rights, but we also have to be fair and enforce the law, which is not always popular. One of the ways that we keep the populace safe and everything is roads, traffic. And I've seen a huge increase in traffic in the city of Stockbridge. And one of the ways we do that because we end up writing traffic citations. We do traffic stops and we write citations. Well, one of my goals is what we do when we enforce the traffic law is we're trying to prevent traffic accidents, the injuries that result from traffic accidents, and the property damage that results from traffic accidents. Citations are a byproduct. And one of the reasons that, again, I'm here tonight is recently we have had an administrative person that entered all of the citations for the city of Stockbridge, or that was generated in the city limits of Stockbridge. The lady's name was Mary Bradbury, and she helped us tremendously. And I know, trust me, I know budgets are tight, extremely tight. We're down to counting pennies, so I know how it is. But I just wanted tonight, I wanted to present to you, because one of my jobs is to make decisions based on facts. I've got to have the facts. These guys that I'm fixing to introduce to you, they know how I am. What are the facts? Give me the statistics. And statistics can kind of be skewed a little bit. So I'm going to bring Lieutenant Lunsford up here to talk about statistics and do a little presentation. But and I'll try to move on. But I've also realized that we have had a drop in traffic citations. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. We've had a drop in those citations. I reached out to my other chiefs in the cities, which Hampton, Locust Grove, and McDonald. And they too have seen a drop in traffic citations, except for the city of McDonald, but there's a caveat to that. They have added patrol officers. They've added. So they have more officers out there. Okay? So, and we don't know what the, I surmise that there's a little bit less traffic on the roads. And as y'all well know, that the county police haven't had a raise in 5 years. We've had furloughs, but this will be our 3rd year. And when that happens, a little bit of a morale issue. But, you know what, I woke up and I said, you know what, I kind of fell into that doldrums with these guys. But you know what, we've got a job. And we're out here to protect the citizens. If we don't do our job, it's not hurting anybody but the citizens. And that's who we're here to protect. So I made some changes too. So I just didn't have this epiphany and wake up and say, hey, we got to start writing something. I made some changes. And one of those changes back here, if you'll come on up so you'll get to know him. This is Major Joe Jackson. Major Jackson retired after, I think, about a 35-year career from the GBI. And he did an awesome job with the GBI. He came on with us primarily to run our criminal investigation division. And he's done a wonderful job for the last several years. And I moved him to the Uniform Patrol Division Commander. So he's over the entire Uniform Patrol. And the other change I made is I promoted Captain Birch, and he's going to be the North Precinct Commander. He's taking Captain Gold's place. Now, Captain Gold did a great job. Major Aaron did a great job. But we're just going to flip things around a little bit and give them experience up there to do that. And, of course, I'm going to bring Lieutenant Lunsford up. He's our intel lieutenant. And we created an intelligence unit because with that growth in population and everything, we had more information than we've ever had. And we need a way to contain that. But he's our intel analyst. And he's presented a little PowerPoint tonight to give y'all, hopefully, a little more clear picture about what we do, how we do it up here in Stockbridge. And I know I could go on and on and on tonight because I love policing. That's my passion. I love it. And we want to do the best job that we can possibly do. So I would, in the end of this, I hope that you reconsider that position that I understand was alleviated because we have one administrative person in that entire North Precinct to answer phones, to now generate those citations. I don't want to get in the middle of contractual issues here because that's not what I'm here for. I just want to give you a better idea of the service that we provide to you, who we provide, and how we do it. Maybe you got anything you'd like to say?
Very briefly, Mr. Mayor, City Council members, I appreciate the opportunity to come out tonight and meet you for the time. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Hoffman. Thanks, sir. I noticed you got a good mix of seasoned leaders in the community and some new members. I've been working down here for the last 4 years, but I've never been in this building. And earlier this week, I came down here for the first time. And I looked around and I said, wow, look at this nice facility. I just come from my precinct. I've been over there many, many times. And we certainly appreciate your help in getting us installed there. But, I said, well, it must take a good, quality, forward, progressive thing of leadership that will help establish buildings such as this, people in the community and the leaders in the community can come in and take care of the day-to-day business that affects the lives of those in the community and citizens that try to serve. Now, I'm not a political figure that keep very quick to catch, but what I do enjoy is talking about the job that I've done most of my adult life. I like a career for me, and I greatly appreciate it. I want to close by saying that every day in the city of Stockbridge, we have somewhere in the neighborhood 65 police officers come through and come to the community, come to work out of this precinct house. Staff and work with y'all, doing everything humanly possible to help make this a safe, wonderful community which the citizens here live and work in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course, I came here after the chief is not connected to Will Riverdale, the chief chased me from his police car. But I started off with here, and then of course I started working for up here in the Stockbridge area. So this was close to some new with the officer started. But I've been here about 20 years.
Again, Mr. Mayor, Council, we appreciate the support that you provide to us, because without it, we're dead in the water. We're no good. And that comes from the bottom of my heart. If there's ever anything that I can do for you personally, I believe y'all have my phone number. If not, I've got a bunch of cards in my pocket. I appreciate, I apologize for not being up here sooner. A little busy down on that end, and I apologize for that, but if there's anything I can ever do for you, and again, these are statistics that we compile through our intelligence unit, and hopefully this will be helpful to you in reconsidering that.
Mayor, council members. I gave you a copy of the slideshow so you can follow along. The Internet Police Department provides the full services to the city of Stockbridge. We don't do we provide the full services to the city of Stockbridge. We don't differentiate if it's county or city. We're responsible for all. And we have many services that components of the agency that we do that with. The primary one is the uniform shoulder division. Those are the guys you see 24/7 up there patrolling the streets. We also have the traffic division, traffic units. They are primary task to investigate accidents and serious accidents and traffic fatalities, among other things. We also have the motor unit. Those are the motorcycles you see out there. You see them in special events. They also do traffic enforcement, escorts, and they have the advantage of getting in and out of places the cars can't. We have a heat unit known as the DUI task force. They work with the governor's office of highway traffic safety, keeping trucks off the road. We see the particular commercials. There are guys that are working on those aspects of things. We have K-9 units. They're drug interdiction. They can also serve the capacity of helping building clearances. Building clearances can be dangerous to officers, and using the dog makes it more safe for not only the police but the attendants as well. They can also help with premises as well. We participate in the Flint Circuit Narcotics Task Force. This task force is a cohesive population of agencies within the county for the purpose of addressing drug device in the county. The staff of that agency, I think, we provide more than 50% or more of the people that are over there. The criminal investigations is our detectives. They're the ones that criminal and what way is investigate the cases and try to come to a resolve and get the people arrested and items recovered and somewhere to the future. We have crime scene. If you watch TV, this is what a lot of people watch CSI these days. We actually have that. And we have occasion, the primary focus is games. Trying to keep up with the games in the county and what they're up to and what we can do to build that type of activity. We have a SWAT team. The SWAT team is comprised of members throughout the agency who do it on a voluntary basis. They're on call 24/7 when needed. So we got a situation called for special weapons and tactics, which is what SWAT stands for. They get the call and they very done as it searches wherever they need to. We also have an agent assigned to the FBI JTTF, Homeland Security. JTTF is the Joint Terrorism Task Force. There's more to terrorism than just somebody strapping a bomb to them. A lot of crime is often centered around funding such operations. level of the county. When it comes to, we also have other services that are in the background that you don't see visibly out in the public for the most part. One of those is training. Officers are receive training that's mandated by the state. They have to receive so many hours. We usually exceed that. That's what I always do. Specialized training, advanced training, qualifications, whatever is needed. We have a record division. They are central to our data entry and mostly paper, record retention, record storage. Every people you see actually at the windows and actually the phones. Property evidence, self-explanatory, keep all the property evidence in a secure, safe environment. Intelligence, that's where I'm from. We do all kinds of things that help support the activities of investigating, preventing, deterring crime, including things like this where we can help with public presentations. I'll be talking more about stats a little later on. Quartermaster, they basically see to it that we got what we need and what we have, we're exactly. Certification research, we are a state certified agency. We have the research standards, meaning that we receive certifications for a law enforcement agency. We have internal affairs. They do, of course, do the internal investigation, but they also do our recruiting and they also field open record requests. We also have the COS unit, which the chief talked about a little earlier, community police services. You see them sometimes out on the bicycle with bike patrol. They help with neighborhood watches. They are always involved, it seems like, with every little event, public event, and they do an appearance, do a display, we have to even organize it sometimes. And we also use other things to enhance our services, such as public media, social media, web apps. Some of those things include Crime Stoppers. Crime Stoppers is the Atlanta Crime Stoppers is a privately funded organization where they give rewards to people for calling and tips us to help us solve crimes. The reward is up to $2,000. And we do put their logo on our logos for that reason. We have something called Map News. It is a web service, kind of like Google Maps, except it puts marks on the map for crimes in Henry County and text offenders in Henry County, so you can see what's going on near your house. You can even get an email about anything updated near your house if you want. We have something called Leads Online. This is something that the city of McDonough, Hampton Roach Grove, and Stockbridge have got onto. It's an electronic reporting system for regulated businesses, pawn shops, Levi Gold, recyclers. Those by state law and local ordinance are required to report certain data in their transactions and or report to the police on a daily basis. In the past, we had to do it on paper. Now we do it electronic. It's quicker and easier to access. We've already had success with it in recovering property and making cases and making arrests. These online officers also offers a service to the citizens called Reported. Reported is a secure, private place where citizens can go in there and put all their valuables, list all their valuables, and all the serial numbers, make models, and even pictures. So if it's stolen, we got a serial number. A lot of times, when we got a PlayStation, we might suspect it's stolen. The only way to tell them one PlayStation number is that serial number. And very often they don't have it. So it's also because of us. And even if it's maybe their house comes down, they can retrieve information about the valuables from the insurance company. Facebook, we started using Facebook where we can post informational things. We've also started posting bulletins and videos on there. And we've already had success with that and helping to solve crimes. The church burger, have y'all heard about that? Same church. We also participate in the GTIP program done by the GBI, Military Intelligence Project. This is a statewide thing where many agencies are involved. Being a participant in this program, we have received, at no cost to Henry County, program upgrades, equipment upgrades, training, and all kinds of other things that have really benefited us tremendously. GSAC is another institute we cooperate with. You may know them more as a fusion center, but that's what they're commonly called. COS is a local group that the city of Stockbridge is also involved with in making sure that communication between the courts and the agencies throughout the county are maintained and or improved, and information sharing and all that. And there's others. I can go on. Understand the statistics. Mark Twain once said, there are a lot damn well, and there are statistics. So I'm here to talk some about statistics, because they can sometimes appear deceiving or contradictory to one another. There's a reason for that. There are human and data entry errors that can contribute to things like that. The parameters used to create the research that's presented to you sometimes can make the data look different. For instance, if you see a report on violent crime, and then you see a report on family violence, they kind of sound like the same thing, but they're really not, because not all violent crime is family violence, and not all family violence is violent crime. Sometimes the data gets updated or changed. The reason for that is we might originally get it as A, and after investigation, we determine it's actually B. And so we make a correction. Different data sources often give you different information or different results, even though slightly vary. And sometimes the math, when you use rounding, and you use those rounded numbers for further math, you get slightly different numbers. Statistics are reported in raw numbers and percentages, and we use both. The reason we use both is because it puts them in perspective. And by that I mean, if a incident goes from 3 to 4, the change is 1, but the percentage is 33%. So if you hear the crime number 33%, you put it in perspective that it was only 1. By the same token, if the crime goes from 4 to 3, the change is 25%. So it sounds like 25% was able to counter for 3%. The difference is, that's true, but the difference is that the starting number for 1 was 3, and for the other was 4, and therefore the numbers come out a little different because it's a bigger number and a smaller number. In the May Starker stats that were produced, you can see 3 years with the comparison. One of those categories, robbery, you can see it's down 2%, or it's a change of 3 for a total of 2. But then it's lows in the last 3 years, over a 3-year span. The aggravated assault shows up 233%. Well, the change is actually 7 for a total of 10, and it's only 1 more than in 2010. A lot of times, statistics, for whatever reason, you'll see 1 year up, 1 year down, 1 year up, 1 year down. Who knows what? So small numbers translate to large percentages, put them in perspective by consideration to the raw numbers and the totals. Henry County Stockbridge, Henry County is over 324 square miles. Stockbridge is over 13 and covers about 4% of the county. In population, Henry County 2010 census, Henry County is nearly 204,000 people. The city of Stockbridge is nearly 26,000, so they have about nearly 13% of the population. And police reports, let's not confuse police reports with calls of service. This is where the police responded and actually wrote the report. In the last year, 2011, we wrote about over 18,000 reports, and over 4,000 of those were attributed to the city of Stockbridge, which is over 22%. When it comes to accidents, last year we had 37,000 accidents, and nearly 2,000 of those were attributed to the city of Stockbridge, which is over 28%. The little icon, the little map that's in the top corner, that's what you can see accidents all over the county. They seem to get more concentrated around Stockbridge for some reason. The areas that have most accidents will always consistently come up as 138, Oakland Boulevard, Eagle County, Bridge, Rockaway, seems to be one of the leaders in accidents month after month. Citations countywide last year, we wrote over 56,000 citations. We had 129 what I call ticket writers. These are officers out in the field who, part of their duties on a daily basis, can or may involve writing citations. That comes out to an average of about 438 per officer on the annual. If you expand that to Stockbridge, with the 6 Stockbridge officers, and you multiply the average, you would expect the Stockbridge should expect at least 2,600 tickets. The actual result was nearly 5,000. So the average of the city of Stockbridge is higher than the county right average for citation writing. In 2012, you can see similar numbers and you see similar results. The average in the city of Stockbridge is actually higher than the county-wide average. When it comes to crime, sometimes another way to compare crime is by per capita. That means you take the crime and you translates into how many crimes per 1,000 people. And in this case, this little chart that I show you here is taking cities throughout the state of Georgia of similar population to include Griffin and McDonald's, and compare the crime per capita. In this case, the crimes that is used is property crimes and violent crimes. And you can see the Stockbridge ranks third out of that list. So it's a very favorable comparison there. So in review, statistics are put in perspective when they are weighted against our numbers. The city of Stockbridge provides full police services. Stockbridge covers about 4% of the land area. They have about nearly 13% of the population. They account for over 22% of the police reports, over 28% of the accidents. The crime rate compares favorably throughout the state of Georgia with cities of similar size, and the Stockbridge citation average is higher than the county average. And I'll be glad to explain or go over detail anything that is.
Thank you. I'm sure Mr. Steinberg and other kinds got some, they have some stats that they have of their own. Y'all can answer them.
Okay, I don't know if you want to put this form or another form or anything like that. I'll be happy or, be happy to answer any questions.
Just a breakdown.
Yeah, it's just a breakdown. It showed that tickets for the first 5 or 6 months were down 33, 34%.
I think that was county-wide.
They are now.
That was Stockbridge. What was percentage us?
On the average,
I'm sorry, I don't have the chart with me to see.
I had to lean over that, but on the page talking about citations this year, if you extrapolate the number of tickets written this year, the countywide average is, and translate it to the whole year, it comes to 416 per officer. We do have less officers because of we did lose officers in the current budget, and of course the furloughs and all that kind of stuff. But the average is down 22, I'm pretty sure. Last year it was 38, this year the trend shows 416. So it is down.
And like I said in the beginning of the presentation, we recognized it was down. And that was part of the catalyst for making the changes that we have made. And we've also recommitted ourselves to what our ultimate goal is, which is to make these roads safer, period. And make it safe for you, your family, everybody in the audience to drive on and not have to worry about some moon out there driving way beyond their capacities. And this was a gradual trend. Again, in 2008, I had 249 officers. Today, and I know it's not y'all's problem, I have 229 officers. We're kind of going backwards. This is something I'm addressing with our county commissioner. They are aware of it, and it's something that we've been working hard on reversing, and it's something that I'm committed to. And again, I understand that there's been a drop. I understand that that also translates into a drop in revenue. Pure and simple. Not going to pull any punches. And I understand how difficult it is right now. Again, count pennies, getting everything you can, but I'm committed. I come before you tonight saying I'm committed. And I want to let
2 officers go. So if we've got, I don't want to give away any secrets, but if we get one domestic call, there's your 2 officers right there. So we have to, like I said, we're dedicated to go. There isn't a time that goes by that something happens in the city and we don't send somebody. Doesn't matter if they're tied up on a domestic call. And that's what I'm holding that man back there, those 2 guys back there. In all their years of experience, even the years that he spent trying to avoid being over Riverdale, all those years of experience, and I'm all over count. And they're very well qualified to do this. And again, there has been a dip in the citations, and I understand all the financial ramifications. To be quite honest with you, I'm not a big ticket generating guy because it generates revenue. Again, safety is my concern. I am big enough to understand the byproduct of it. And again, Ms. Bradbury entered those citations. And again, in our rededication, now we're without her, and that's putting an added burden on this bridge. And again, we have new commanders over there, and it just kind of trickles down. Again, beautiful building. I started across the street there, in the old jail, that's where I started. And we put bicycles in those cells. I mean, we weren't using the cells anymore. And then we moved next door to the tag office and then the last place. I mean, it's an awesome building. So I know that y'all are dedicated. I mean, you know, the old saying, put your money where your mouth is, y'all done that. Y'all done that. We appreciate that. And I'm asking, and I know it's a tough decision because I have to sit in my office every day. And when I made my budget, I had some horrendously tough decisions. And I know the position you're in, and I know how difficult it is, and I know how you wrangle over it, and I know you know what affects people's lives. But we need this position, and I hope you can reconsider or would reconsider. And I can't sit here and say there hasn't been a drop. There hasn't. I'm sure y'all seen the financial repercussions.
Chief, I want to thank you very much for the presentation this evening. I am a statistics guy. That's how I make my living. So Lieutenant Munster and I will get along just great. But I look forward to working with you all in the future. I've had many discussions with Captain Doe about the situation. I think it'll be great. We're looking forward to working with you all.
Quick question. I appreciate the presentation. Briefly, I want to ask Captain Birch, or you, Captain, the formula for neighborhood patrol. I have concerns about drug trafficking in various neighborhoods. As you know, the city of Starkbridge, there are many neighborhoods. And I guess with 2 officers, you may have some issues trying to patrol these neighborhoods, but is there a formula that you use to patrol neighborhoods?
Actually, it's not good programs with other services. They actually have a lot of cars, police officers, so we just have 2 officers in the city. A lot of times, more likely to have 4 officers in the city. Because of the way it's all the environment, north and south, as far as the information telling me, a lot of times in that force is watch out in the neighborhood, and also information that we receive and passed on to the Flint circuit from aspects. And no longer as personal, so a lot of times I think about something.
One thing, I was thinking that I was sitting there, the way that our organization is zoned for structure,
The zones on the north end, we have the city of Starkbridge is going to the city limits, and it's out into 8 different zones.
what that effectively means is we have 8 officers available at any given time.
know what I meant, but I was referring to the contract, stipulated the minimum one. And we also have our specialty, which he alluded to, but primarily is we've gone to an intelligence-led policing, and what he does is he garners statistics. Again, I mean, the statistics man understands this. He garners them and he will map them out. We will review them and we'll see trends developing, and I can just from my past history of Stockbridge, I can pretty much tell you where the problem areas are and everything. But we go a step further and let them map out the trends, and then we dedicate our patrols to that. Yeah, Birch referred to what we call 1094 list. That's just a watch list. You can call us, you can get on the list if you're going out of town, if you're having a specific problem or issue, let us know what it is. Let us know what type of vehicles you have on the property. And because we espouse the philosophy of get to know your neighborhood, get to know your businesses, and you know when something is not right. You know where it are. But again, 25,000 people, it's not easy to know everybody intimately, plus offers being exchanged in and out. So that's why we refer to that list. It will tell them what cars are supposed to be on the property, what cars aren't supposed to be on the property. And again, you need to call Captain Burke. We'll get them on that list. If you're having a problem in a particular area, even if you want to sell us a house, we will concentrate on that and try and eradicate that program. Again, we have to work within the structure of the Constitution, all the confines. We have to develop probable cause, and then we will do what we can do. And I work with people all the time and pass this down to my commanders. I know that they see me come with a piece of paper in my hand or an email, and I try to go home, and I'm not another one. But we're serious about making this a safe place for people to raise their family. We want a good, quality way of life. We have areas all around us, you watch the news, you see at night, that aren't quite as safe. I personally, I know that he talked about, well, you got one, you go up two, that's this much increase, well, one's too much to me. I'm a sticker. They'll tell you, I'm an anal. They say he's an anal lieutenant. One is too much. If we had one, I wouldn't be happy. I'd be honest. That's where I'd take one. I know that that's not reality, but that's what our goal is. And again, if you have these problematic areas, I sit on the board of the Flint Circuit Drug Task Force. If you email me or email Captain Works, you can email and we can get them on. We just recently hit, and I texted the mayor, a gambling institution. It's been here for quite some time, and it's been a huge headache. I can't even tell you the amount of money that we have spent trying to get this place shut down. I get complaints all the time. My relatives went there and lost their whole paycheck, and now we can't eat. I mean, we've been trying to shut this place down, and with working with our Flint Circuit Drug Task Force, they went in and made some illegal buy, or they got paid out. That's what has to happen. The law that regulates this is very structured, very, very tough. And we're actually, the county is working on a new ordinance as we speak that we've pretty much stolen from the city of Warner Robins, and if we get it instituted, I'm going to come forward to y'all and you can look at the same thing. So basically, it prohibits a business like the one down the street that blacked out the windows, said you must be 21, and you have to be known to be allowed to enter the business. It gives it a little more teeth for us, but as it stands right now, like I said, there's some of these businesses that have machines in the back rooms. People sit there all day long and play these games, and we have to go in and we have to put massive amounts of money into these machines just to win, and then we have to gain the confidence of these people that work there to pay us out, and then we end up getting a part in the back. We want to stop this cycle. We want to stop. Like I said, we did that. This is business we got rough. So all that is off the street, the city Stockbridge. And not only that, they had a 16-year-old runaway girl that was in that business. Get through it, but I got no idea what was going on. So we don't need this kind of stuff. At least that's my opinion. I hope it's your opinion too, but we don't need this kind of stuff. This is not the environment you want your family to subject you to. And that's what we're trying to do. And again, we need to judge it. And I know I'm going on, please forgive me, because again, I'm passionate about what I do.
You do a great job, and I would say I would also encourage all the council people to get an appointment with them and set down, just like I did with Captain Burgeon the other day there, if you can get your feels and get your opinions told what you want. You guys, I have never, that's why the only time I get a complaint against y'all was the guy that's Jones, somebody's family member who deserved to be busted, but whatever. But even when I send you the complaints, you guys respond, you check it out, because there could be a bad cop as well. But that you're very, very professional, and I appreciate what y'all do. I would encourage everybody to go through what we call that Citizens Police Academy at y'all. You want to see what they do, and then you get to ride with them. You get to shoot, not at people, but you get to go down the range and shoot. And you guys do a commendable. Matter of fact, I want you could double the salary, and I won't do what you guys do. Because you took that oath, and we appreciate it very much. And I feel safe anywhere I go in Stockbridge. I don't have no doubt in my mind that I'm safe. Not that we've got it all cleaned up, but if we have that, we're signing that network, that intel network where you're passing, because all y'all sitting out there is how the police get it. If you talk and you send it in, that's how you're the eyes and ears out there. They need you. It's not them by themselves. And there are those that said that do bad mouth be out there, but generally it's fine because they got a family member who's been nailed by them for some reason or some weird stuff. But you guys do a commendable job. I would encourage the council to support you in any way possible. Well, since we're here and we're talking about it, and then Anita, can you come up and tell the council and explain to American so they feel like what's going on with this, because you don't have Miss Mary in there no more. So what effect is that having on our side of it?
With Mary not being there, right now we haven't noticed the ticket count has increased. I think Trish told me Lori from the South Precinct maybe or somebody is talking to her right now. And so we're also doing a new ticket import, which is also helping us, and there's still some glitches in that, but it is improving. So whoever's entering over there, we're not having to re-enter everything again because of the new ticket import that's been for a number of years now. It's finally getting moving along. And we can see just whenever we have those meetings every couple of months, the work on the glitches there. So that is helping also. So we noticed an increase in the tickets, and we're going to ticket zero tolerance. So I told Judge Eccles in July, excuse me, probably last night in July, so showed the increase because 2 months out when you write the tickets. But they've all tickets and also, so there are no single increase. Summer program, 90 days for summer, 100 days for summer, but usually takes things up. But as I've already done right now, citations, getting them pretty regularly. That's how we get 9 on those. So whoever is entering those, doing them very quickly and getting to us.
Now, let me hear, Miss Marion she was a county employee, or was she a city employee? She was part-time city.
She was retired. She worked for Hurricane Court System. She retired, and then I think it was probably around 2005 or 6. Forgive me on dates. The city hired her to do that, and it was actually she hired her. They're still over here behind there, and she transitioned over across the street to the new precinct. But all she did was specifically enter ball of wax, so to speak, and we're still having some glitches with it. But the key here is when that leaves the officer, it goes straight over to the court system. They have, it's populated, it helps us intelligence-wise because, you know, there's no telling who we're dealing with. They help us from that aspect. And then plus if the individual wants to go over and pay the fine, it's already over there from some of the problems we were experiencing when people go over and pay the fine and they go, we don't know where your ticket is because there's a natural lag time behind the paperwork. So with this computer-generated system, that should take care of that lag time. And again, we do have so many internet citations as, you know, right now, but they're bouncing back and forth when I think a dedicated person, definitely beneficial to what we're trying to accomplish.
So what you're asking, though, we refund her position back? That's what you're asking.
Yes, sir. Consider it or whatever, again, and yes, we did the clicker ticket, and I can attest to that because I almost got ran over on the off-ramp on 138.75 about 12 o'clock night. So we were trying to make the city much safer again. We had a drunk driver come along and he almost hit several officers. He was apprehended and two drivers, two lives were taken off.
All right. Council, any questions? Comments? Mr. Johnson? Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I appreciate y'all coming. Okay, next we have is Reverend Dan Edwards, presentation for Scott Bridge Veteran Memorial. Reverend Dan.
Mr. Mayor, Council, thank you for the opportunity to stand before you this evening. I haven't had the opportunity to meet our newly elected council in Washington. I want to congratulate you on your election. You all really look good. I'm really impressed. My relationship with the city goes way back. And I'm really pleased with what I see. Let me first say that I'm actually not here to make an full-fledged presentation. I'm actually here to pitch the idea of the Veterans Memorial. About 5 years ago, I became involved in the issue of limited domain here in the city. And in an attempt to bring about a resolution, facing trips to Washington and talked to a few decision makers. And the idea was to erect a Veterans Memorial in the spot where the flower shop now stands. And I received a lot of support. But the catch was that we couldn't receive government grants until the city owned the property. So now that the city owns the property, I'm here to say to this council that we have a very strong possibility that we can erect a Veterans Memorial here in the city of Stockbridge with little to no money for the city. If you guys don't have an idea or don't have a plan for that property, I would really like you guys to consider a Veterans Memorial. I myself am a veteran. Since 1980, I'm a veteran. And I've been working on this for 5 years. And it would do my heart well. I don't know how many veterans we have. I know that it would do my heart well if we can erect a Veterans Memorial here in the city of Stockbridge. I've taken some trips and I've physically looked at some Veterans Memorial around the state of Georgia and even in the United States. And so I have an idea what I would like to see, but that's not etched in stone. And what I did was I wanted something that's cost effective. So the grants will cover it. And there's a Veterans Memorial in the city of Somerville, Georgia. An hour and 45 minutes from here. Some of you may have seen it. And I believe it would be an ideal Veterans Memorial but that's not etched in stone. There's a lot of Veterans Memorial, and you guys can discuss that and decide whatever you decide. Then I can go to work and go back to the decision makers and push for grants. And that's what I'm here to do. The first step is for you guys to decide if that's what you want. Then to decide which one you want. And then we can all come back to the table and move forward. And I'm hoping that you guys will really consider Veterans Memorial here in Stockbridge. Not just for me, but for those who work in this country, for those who serve this country. Thank you. Any questions? No.
Thank you so much for bringing this forward. I know this is something that the mayor and I have talked about, and all of us have talked about it at some point in time or another. My question to you is, the grant and the decision makers that you conversed with thus far, are they only interested in helping us get a Veterans Memorial if we use that exact particular parcel? Or are they willing to help us bring one to the city of Stockbridge in the actual respect for the intent of the memorial itself? And I think we should on record with this.
Well, now that was my idea. So they didn't specify where. That was just my idea to bring about a resolution. And we were really heavy in the discussion. We're actually in the fight. And what I wanted to do was provide some funds for this city to make it fair for everybody, what was going on. So that was actually me. So they didn't specify where it went. They just said that they would support it.
Right. Well, that was my question, is because personally, I would love to see a Veterans Memorial. Okay, like I said, I guess it's held against me in some conversations that I didn't personally serve. But my father, grandfather, my son is actively serving, my brother. So I am a patriot if you ever had one. The bottom line is, in my opinion, for us to have been through the negative things that the meets eminent domain situation brought about, and even some, we got it resolved. And I'm very thankful that the old council, had the backbone to make a hard decision getting that resolved. But I personally believe that that particular parcel is way, way valuable to the city of Stockbridge for future economic growth. I would certainly be a proponent of putting it, there's in the curve, possibly at Clark Park, there's a beautiful hill there. There's a lot of other parcels. So if you're coming to council and saying, are we interested, or are we wanting to get more information and get that ball rolling information, absolutely. At least I'm talking to you when I'm out to your council.
Well, let me just say, I'll let you all hash that out. I want to get involved in that. So that's a discussion you all need to have. All I'm saying is that once you decide, then I'll go to work and try to make it happen. So that's a discussion you all need to have, where you want to put it. Me personally, I would like to see it right there. That's what I like to see, because that's the way I pitched it. That's the way I sold it. But you all have to make that decision where you want it. And I'm open. I just want to see one.
The key that I think I picked up on what you were saying was it must be the city of Stockbridge must own the property.
You must own the property. Wherever you choose, you have to own the property. And I actually have a target groundbreaking date. Veterans Day. I would love to break ground on Veterans Day. Don't nod your head, though. Because everything is possible. We can do all things through Christ who gives us strength. Oh, okay. So, go over this with an open mind. So don't shoot it down before you start the discussion. Veterans Day is possible. I've been working on this for 5 years. The only hope will be you guys.
Well, I'm going to be frank with you. I'm disappointed that you're going to put that back on this council. that we're the holdup.
I'm not here to debate you. I'm not here to debate you, man. I'm not here to debate you. I'm not here to debate you. Now, if you want to talk improper, let's do that.
All right.
But let's not go through a debate here in front of you speak.
That's all right.
Oh,
I'm not here to say.
I'm saying again, if you guys decide how fast we move. Is that better?
Yes.
You guys decide how fast we move. I'm not here to argue with you. Any more questions?
Yes, I may. I think it's a great idea. But I think we need to sort of just leave it at that. Let the council just work this out. I somewhat agree with Councilman Alvarez. You know, there are certain things, certain restrictions that we do have. It's a great idea. But let us try to work it and get with you and work it. But just don't stipulate, I think. I think the presentation you made was good. I think we just need to hold it there. I think it's a great idea. I think this council will probably work it. But to take it any further than that, I just think we just need to hold it there.
And I agree.
And we appreciate you coming with that. I personally, I think it's a great idea. But I think it's best if we just let it stay.
It won't cost the city anything.
Right. And I think it's best just to let the presentation start right there and just let us work it. But it's a great idea.
Anybody else? Thank you very much. Okay, next item under discussion here is the council's discussion items. It's a plan to resolve flooding for Club Drive area. Basically, we're going to have Adam Price, Jack Jones, and Brad. Y'all come on up here and discuss flooding, and I think y'all can bring Walmart, get over here, and if they're here to get some guidance or what we're going to do with it here. Adam, you going to lead the talk? You do the technical. Put it in layman's terms, though.
I will. I'll do my best layman terms, and I wrote a brief report. I've given Jack a copy. We've already set up a meeting between him and myself next Thursday on site, and do a pre-con of the maintenance room, which I'll get to very briefly. Anybody in the audience that lives in the area, we were asked last year to do a flood analysis of Club Drive and between Club Drive and Davis Road. We took it all the way to Norfolk Southern, down by the park, to basically analyze possible flooding issues that were occurring behind the homes that basically was occurring on city property. The city owns that property. There's a city sewer line back there, and there's also a maintenance road that was built some years ago to maintain that sewer line. What we came up with, and based on information provided by FEMA and Henry County, who actually studied all the streams in the county 2 years ago, we used some of their supporting data. We went out and actually field shot all the culverts in the area, got accurate elevations, and actually shot the roadway, which was not a part of the county flood study, which so often happens. We noticed that the difference in the flood elevation from the county study and the one we got, which was higher, was due to the maintenance road, a couple feet. So basically, after a meeting with Mr. Alcon, Mr. Cochran, myself, and Brad Holtzinger, we came to the conclusion out on site, probably the best thing to do, rather than remove the whole road, let's run a model that maybe cuts a couple of spillways. Think of it as a ponding effect in the floodplain. Cut a couple of spillways so that we can move a vehicle through there if we have to maintain the sewer line, but at the same time, we relieve some of the flooding in the backyards. I ran that model. It worked quite well, actually. And by also removing the two 30-inch shallow drains in the small tributary of Brush Creek, which still a piece of equipment can go right across there. When we had our meeting out on site, I showed Mr. Cochran, Mr. Alcon, the shallow tributary. It's really the 30-inch pipes. That's why the road had to be raised, because the pipes had to be raised. The banks of that channel are probably 4 or 5 inches tall at the most. So by removing those pipes, creating a bigger channel for the water to go through, and creating 2 spillways about approximately 15 feet wide, 6 to 1 side slope, so a vehicle can traverse it if needed. I will throw a disclaimer: it needs to be 4x4 in that terrain, because we almost get stuck when I was down there. We think it improves the flood characteristics for the 2-year, which is basically what amounts to a 50% chance of occurring in 2-year storm event, all the way up to the 100-year, which is a 1% chance of occurring, but it seems to occur a lot more in the last 10 years than 1%. It does lower the flood elevation through that section anywhere from 1.5 feet to approximately 2 feet, which ironically lowers it down to the approximate elevation on the county flood study. I don't think there's any coincidence there. I don't think the county flood study had a road in there, which often happens when you do county-wide flood maps. You just don't account for shooting every single invert pipe, every single little 3-foot rise in a maintenance road. It just doesn't happen. So that's what we came up with, and we think with the city's MS4 program inspecting the ditches and the creeks regularly, yearly, and checking for trash and unusual debris in the channels, which was another issue I know from talking with one of the residents last year. She said there's a lot of debris out there. The public works staff actually cleaned that out. Jack did earlier this year, correct? And so I think that's made a positive effect. And I think a regular, which part of the MS4 program, regular inspections will do well in cleaning out that area, especially since a lot of it's city property. So I think the initial conclusions were to cut those 2 spillways in, take those 2 shallow drains out, open that thing up a little bit more so it drains, and let's evaluate if it helps those people out.
So what do y'all need from us? You just briefly ahead.
Well, basically, in talks with Jack, I'll let him talk about it. The city seems to have the equipment and staff to perform the work. It's probably about a day's work.
Maybe 2 days. Basically, I ain't put that go down yet, but just listen in with Wayne right over there. I think what they're going to do is they got to cut the swells out. That's basically about it, right?
The sewer is deep enough. I've got sewer as bills provided to me a couple months ago by the city. Sewer is about 9 feet deep. So that was one of the issues that Mr. Cocker and Mr. Alvarez brought up. I confirmed that on my sewer as bill plan. So cutting that road down 2 to 3 feet is not going to work.
I don't think we need anything.
All right. Any questions? Mr. Cochran, this was yours.
Get the shovel out.
Get the shovel, get going.
Mr. Mayor, I was going to ask council, we don't have any, I mean, is there any, it's not a voting session. Is there a consent, amen, that we can let them go ahead and proceed? Because as the mayor knows, this is an area that we have been struggling with for a year and a half, I guess, ever since we've been on it. That same stretch of houses have been vulnerable to this backup. So I didn't know whether we could do before we gave them the go ahead.
I don't see any need for an action item unless there's something that's going to require someone else's property to be involved. I don't guess that's the case.
There's no easement issues.
That's right. The culvert, the 2 30-inch pipes are right near the property line, but there's a 20-foot sewer easement. You guys know the sewer's right next to the access drive, so there's no problem.
I have one question for Adam. I know when we were out there, Adam, we discussed 2 and maybe a 3rd spillway. I heard you say you ran a model on 2.
Well, the pipes removing them acts as the 3rd. Okay. So there's really 3. Okay. Removing those pipes.
I want to be clear, everybody, you mentioned 2.
Yeah, and most of the water, common sense, most of the water's coming through where the pipes are. So that's the one that's most helpful. But when you cut the other 2 in, the prime reason for one of the other 2 is because there's a low point right there. And relieve that. And then the other one is halfway between the existing culvert and that low. We'll relieve any additional.
So what you're saying is you guys pretty much want to get on this as soon as possible because of the weather too. We're going through a dry period, but if it starts raining, you're going to have problems.
Well, yeah, and you'll have to wait a while to let it dry. So flat down there, yes. While it's dry, not necessarily do it 102 degree weather.
I know you're not too happy about that, but it's fine.
But absolutely, while it's dry, we'll go ahead and get it done, get it stabilized. One problem you might have is, getting the swells back together. I would recommend grass or sod, obviously. You have to monitor, especially during the dead of summer. It's the one problem with doing that right now. I would not large scale riprap right now. It's a cost to the city that I don't think. And the scale of it is so flat, I don't think you need to do that.
I know where you need some filter.
Okay, are we covered as far as your services and
Oh,
stuff?
yeah.
We don't have to do another contract or something with y'all? Everything's good to go?
I'm good to get.
Get them shovels in the morning, Jim.
One request, we need to take double dose of mosquito repellent. That's a monster spot. They'll touch you out.
And I've got an extra copy, I gave him a copy, I got an extra copy from Nicole to the store. And I also got 3 large copies of the plan that anybody calls, any residents, feel free to open these up.
Yeah, if you would make sure Melinda gets copies of that, we're finding we don't have a lot of plans or somebody, we don't know where some of the stuff is. So if she has that, she can start cataloging. Okay, thank you. With that being done, Bill, you're saying we need to go into executive session?
Yes, sir, brief executive session.
Brief executive session for, was it B1 is to, not it, which ones? I don't think it's A, or is it, yeah, it is. Which ones you want?
Property acquisition
A.
and claims, legal claims.
C. And B. B, so A, B, and C. A, B, C. So we need a motion to go into executive session to discuss the name A, B, and C. Do I have a motion
I make a motion to go on executive session.
for the purpose of, Carol, you go to A, B, and C? To discuss the future acquisition of real estate, to discuss and deliver upon employment compensation matter, discrimination, dismissal, periodic evaluation, or rating of a public officer or employee, and to consult and see with a legal counsel pertaining to pending potential litigation, settlement claims, administrative proceedings, or other judicial actions brought or to be brought by or against the city or an officer or employee of which the officer or employee may be directly involved with those official codes of Georgia. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor? 2, 3. Opposed? Okay, we will convene the meeting.
Mr. Mayor, I believe we have to adjourn executive first.
I'm sorry, Mark.
So
We're going to make a motion to adjourn
motion
the
to
executive session.
executive session.
Mr. Steinberg, got a second?
So moved.
All in favor? Vote. Okay, next motion. Discuss.
I make a motion for an affidavit to be signed for the mayor for discussion in executive session for A, B, and C acquisition of real estate, disciplinary action, or appointments of employment, and to discuss with legal counsel regarding claims.
There a second?
I second.
All in favor? Okay, next we have the committee meeting updates. Building committee.
Mr. Mayor, ready to reconvene?
Sorry, you know. Okay, another motion to reconvene. Or to convene.
So moved.
Second.
I second.
All in favor? Okay. Now. Committee meeting updates. Building committee. Mr. Steinberg.
Thank you, Mayor Stewart. Ladies and gentlemen, on the 19th of June at 7 o'clock p.m., we convened the second meeting of the year for the building committee. A number of items were on the agenda, and I'll just summarize the major ones for your edification. There was discussion about the fountains outside of City Hall, and we're having some trespass situations, so we want to implement some signage outside of there, and we have a repair issue with the fountain outside of the old City Hall. We had an issue with water repairs at the municipal court building that's been extended for some period of time. The Public Works Department has done a great job. We think we found the problem and solved it with a cracked water pipe, and consequently we're going to backfill the area around the building and install some French drains around the front to have the water dispersed around the building. There were some issues related to City Hall with salt seepage in our foundation, a request for some awnings outside of City Hall, some landscape suggestions for replacing pine straw, and those also some broken handrails in the front of the building, which are embedded with lights and will cost several $1,000s to replace as the mechanisms are no longer manufactured. So we're looking at alternative ways to shore them up right now and see what a long-term solution is as well. And the last item on the agenda was an open discussion of potentially allocating any public buildings for charitable use. In this case, potentially allocating either the fire station or the vacant police station for the Boys Club, Girls Club. Thank you, Mayor.
And next, we have Community Relations Committee, Mr. Thomas.
The Community Relations Committee met June 14th. The Community Relations Committee met June 14th at 6. Al Thomas, chairperson, Bushman, Parker members. A presentation was made by Mr. Derwin Pinion, Mr. Larry Downer from the Boy Scouts of America. He introduced himself as the district commissioner. He came to the committee to ask for our assistance in identifying adult volunteers and youth in the area of Cub Scouting and Boy Scouts in the northern area of the city of Stockbridge and in the Fairview area. There were a few discussions on how the city could assist him to facilitate the awareness in the city of Stockbridge. Mrs. Bushman made several recommendations. The city website and other avenues, going into the churches. It was indicated that in the Methodist Church organization, scouting is one portion of one part of the Methodist program. Secondly, there were a Memorial March update. We were able to actually see the filming, the disc of the Memorial March. It was about 30 minutes long. We had some issues at the end. We ran into time constraint with the next committee meeting. And we do have that information coming forward for the final update on the Memorial March. There were certain items that was left out, reason being that we do not have it. Mrs. Bushman gave an update on the movie. Yeah, the movie. And we talked about some ways that we could improve that. And that pretty much concluded that particular meeting.
Thank you. Next, Finance Committee, Mark Alcott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Finance Committee meeting was primarily around the new acquisition and implementation of our new accounting software. I'm going to go ahead and try to do my best, but basically it's a 4-month from basically last month. We actually allocated the funds to the purchase. Just for them to be on the site, there's an additional, I believe, and David, if I can misquote something, please help me with that because you've been instrumental in getting this implemented. We also have, after we get here for that 4th month, there's a 4 to 6 month period of getting things into the system, up and running, and get the bugs worked out. We're looking at a 6 to 8 month time frame to actually have what they feel like a solid rollout and be able to really be up and running in all cylinders. The other piece we talked about in that rollout, there is going to be some training and some testing of our staff as far as their computer skills, their IT skills, to see what type of training, what type of assistance they may need to be able to take on this high-tech implementation of this software. So other than that, we did talk about some other ways of helping ourselves, not having to do so many budget amendments when we acclimate, or should I say, when we present a ordinance or resolution that's going to affect our budget, we need to at the exact same time have that budget amendment attached to it, and simultaneously that helps keep the books clean and be more real time in what we're doing. That's all I can remember from memory, but I would defer to David if there's anything specific that you think needs to be expounded on anymore.
I think we discussed about doing the budget amendment, so we'll not do it.
Well, that was discussed. We did talk about the amendments to the budget. That's what I was just alluding to. If we were more proactive in having the budget amendments prepared at the same time, ordinances and resolutions were presented and does pass, then we would have less amendments needed during the year. We did talk, what I'm so thankful for, and I think Ms. Bushman and others know that we've spent a severe amount of hours using the Excel budget that we have now. I am being honest with you, I'm reluctant to try to go back and to put the absolute tumultuous hours of trying to update stuff that we are, even if we get caught up, we are 2 to 3 months of real time as far as getting a real financial picture. So my recommendation, we did talk about the updates, but my recommendation is that we continue to work the best we very well can with the budget, but wait for that 4 to 6 month implementation and then that rollout of consistency in that 8 month period. We should be lifetime instead of being a cash system. We're going to be real time across all of our accounting process.
Okay, but I'm confused, Lisa, when that's in the future. We're talking about amending this year's budget before you can go get on to that stuff. It's going to take some time. That y'all talk about July, August, you could turn around and give us a budget and an update.
We can work towards that. We mentioned that we went to bi-monthly meetings. You had mentioned that you wanted us to meet monthly. I talked to those that are on this committee with me, and they also, they're sitting here with me, so there's no smoke and mirrors. They want to maintain a bi-monthly meeting schedule. We will do our very best to give this council and community updates as best we can with a software that we've had since 1989.
I just challenge all the time. If you can get maybe 1 or 2 months, but a single month to get it up. We're at 6 months, and now we're going on 7 months. Next will be 7 months, halfway a year. We haven't amended our budget. I think that's, we owe the citizens more. Thank you. Now, public safety. Ms. Bushman.
We also met on June 19th with the other building committee and the public works. And I just went over the fact that I had been speaking to the engineers at I-75 and Eagles Landing about restriping the lanes. We discussed park issues, new park rules, new signs, and how we will try to enter that into the budget when we set up for next year. I want to try to start working and getting some designs on some signs and work with the park guys. They're on task every day down there at the parks to see what they would like to see on those signs as far as rules. They do need to be updated. There's duct tape. It looks pretty bad for the city. So with that, that was about all that I had.
Public Works, Mr. Harold, I'd say you last at least. I think that was a good discussion earlier, so that's probably a good summary of it. Okay, announcements of upcoming events. All meetings will be held at City Hall unless otherwise noted. City Hall closing at noon Tuesday, July the 3rd. City closed on Independence Day, July the 4th. Upcoming council meeting is Monday, July the 9th at 7 p.m. That'll put us back on a regular schedule. Stars Over Stockbridge movie, The Smurfs, Sunday, July the 15th at dusk. Mayor's Bike Ride is Sunday, July the 15th at 7 p.m. Sounds of Summer features Stevie G and the Rockettes. Classic Rock, Saturday, July the 21st at 6 p.m. Upcoming working session meeting is Tuesday, the 7th of August at 7 p.m. And upcoming council, which puts us back on schedule. And the upcoming council meeting Monday, the August 13th at 7 p.m. Anything else on there? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I so moved.
Aye.